He left me for another woman and took everything, but he didn't know I owned his business. Legally, I owned it. He was just the face. He thought I was a silent partner who signed papers without reading them. But I had been paying attention all along. Before we move ahead with the story, please subscribe to the channel. I was standing in our bedroom folding his shirts when I heard the door open behind me. I turned around and there he was, my husband holding a suitcase. His expression was unreadable, but something about the way he stood there, stiff and distant, made my stomach drop. "I'm leaving," he said, his voice flat. At first, I thought he meant for a business trip. He travelled often, but then I saw the look in his eyes, cold, detached, final. My hands trembled as I placed the shirt down. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He sighed as if this was an inconvenience to him. "I found someone else." The words knocked the air out of my lungs. I felt like I had been punched, but no one had touched me. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Someone else? How? When? My mind raced, trying to put the pieces together. "She makes me happy," he continued, as if that justified everything, as if years of marriage, sacrifices and love could be erased just because he had found a new source of excitement. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "So that's it?" I finally managed to say. "You're just walking away?" His silence was my answer. Within hours, everything was gone. Our house, our cars, our savings. He had planned it all behind my back, leaving me with nothing. At least that's what he thought. Because while he was busy celebrating his freedom, he had forgotten one crucial detail. He didn't own everything. And soon he would realize just how big of a mistake he had made. The very next day, he moved in with her. No hesitation, no guilt, just a clean break, as if I had never existed. I told myself I wouldn't look, that I wouldn't torture myself by checking. But late at night, when sleep wouldn't come, my fingers betrayed me. I opened social media and there they were, smiling, happy, carefree. She was wearing a designer dress I recognized instantly. I had picked it out once thinking it would look good on me, but he had said it was too expensive. Now it was on her. Around her wrist was the bracelet he once gave me, just because. The caption read, "My love spoils me so much." I felt sick. But it didn't stop there. My bank app refused to log me in. My credit cards were declined at the grocery store. Confused, I called the bank, only to be told that my name had been removed from the accounts. Every penny was gone. The life we built together? He had wiped me out of it in a single day. I ran back home, heart pounding, only to find a letter waiting for me, legal notice. He was trying to take the house too. My home. The place where we had laughed, fought, celebrated, and dreamed. The place I had poured my love into, decorating every corner, making it ours. And now he wanted to erase me from that as well. I sank to the floor, the weight of it all crashing down. I had given him my loyalty, my years, my love. And in return, he had taken everything. Almost everything. Because while he was busy playing the villain in his perfect little love story, he overlooked something. Something important. There was one thing he didn't take, one thing he never even thought to check. And that single mistake was going to cost him everything. For years, he believed he was the mastermind, the genius businessman, the self-made success. He walked into meetings with confidence, shook hands with power, and made deals that turned his name into something people admired. And the whole time, he thought I was just the quiet, supportive wife who stood in the background, smiling and nodding. He thought I didn't understand contracts, that I signed papers without reading them, that I was nothing more than a formality in his empire. He was wrong, because while he was busy playing the role of the successful entrepreneur, I was paying attention. I remembered every late-night conversation when he would vent about legal matters, thinking I wasn't listening. I remembered the documents he rushed me to sign, assuming I wouldn't ask questions. And I remembered the moment he decided to put everything under my name. Just for tax purposes, he said. It made sense at the time. I had a clean record, no liabilities, nothing that would complicate ownership. He trusted me completely. And that was his biggest mistake. The business he had poured his blood, sweat, and ego into, the company that funded his luxury lifestyle, it wasn't his. It was mine. Legally, fully, and without question. When he walked away, smug and heartless, he thought he had taken everything from me. He believed I would be left drowning in nothingness while he thrived. But he never checked the fine print. He never realized that the one thing keeping him afloat was under my control. I didn't remind him. I didn't warn him. I simply sat back and watched. I let him believe he had won. I let him settle into his new life, throwing money around like it would never run out. I let him treat his new woman to the finest things, all while unknowingly spending what was, in reality, my money. And when the time was right, when he was at his highest, basking in his victory, I was going to take it all away. I didn't scream, I didn't cry in front of him, I didn't ask why. When he walked out, suitcase in hand, leaving me in the ruins of our life together, I did nothing. I let him believe he had won. I let him walk away thinking I was broken, lost, powerless. That's exactly what he wanted. He wanted me to be so devastated that I wouldn't fight back. So, I played along. I didn't question him when he emptied our accounts. I didn't protest when he took the house, thinking I had nowhere else to go. I didn't call, didn't text, didn't show any signs of anger. I let him celebrate his victory, let him settle into his new life, let him feel untouchable. But behind the silence, I was working. The first thing I did was call a lawyer, one of the best. I laid out everything, from the ownership documents to the contracts he had carelessly signed without reading. And the moment my lawyer confirmed that, yes, I had complete legal control over the company, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Power. I started making quiet moves. The first step was securing my position. I changed company access, locking him out of accounts he didn't even realize he had no claim to. I rerouted emails, ensured that all major decisions had to go through me, and prepared the legal papers that would remove him completely. He was too busy flaunting his new relationship, too distracted by his lavish lifestyle to notice the ground shifting beneath him. I watched as he spent my money without a second thought, never realizing that every dollar he burned was one step closer to his downfall. And then, when the foundation was set and every legal loophole was secured, I prepared for the final step. I wasn't going to take him down in silence. No, I wanted to see the look on his face when he realized the truth. It was a morning like any other. For him, at least. He strutted into the office, expecting the usual routine. Maybe he had a coffee in hand. Maybe he was humming to himself, thinking about the luxury vacation he had planned with her. But the moment he reached the glass doors, his perfect little world began to crack. Security stopped him. "Sir, you're not authorized to enter," one of the guards said firmly, his eyebrows knitted together in confusion. "What the hell are you talking about?" he snapped, reaching for his keycard. With a confident swipe, he tried to enter. Nothing. The small red light blinked at him. Denied. He tried again. And again. The same result. His frustration turned to anger. "There must be some mistake. Get out of my way." But the guards didn't move. His phone was out in seconds, dialing his assistant. No answer. He called again. Straight to voicemail. The color in his face darkened as he stormed inside, shoving past the confused employees who had stopped to watch the scene unfold. He walked through the familiar halls, but something was different. The glances, the whispers, the way people avoided his gaze, and then he reached the office. His office. But when he pushed open the door, he stopped dead in his tracks. I was sitting there, in his chair, behind his desk, calm, waiting. His mouth opened, but no words came out. I leaned back, crossed my legs, and placed a thick envelope on the desk. "You're trespassing," I said smoothly, sliding the papers toward him. He blinked. "What?" Your services are no longer required, I said, my voice steady. As of this moment, you are officially terminated. You have no stake in this company, no authority, no access. It's over. He laughed, a hollow, disbelieving laugh. You can't be serious. I tilted my head. Oh, I am. His hands shook as he grabbed the papers, flipping through them. With every page he turned, the blood drained from his face. This is a joke. His voice was barely a whisper now. I stood up, walking around the desk until I was inches from him. No, the joke was you thinking you could take everything from me and walk away untouched. I leaned in, lowering my voice. You forgot one thing, love. The business was never yours. And just like that, the man who had once destroyed me stood there, powerless. He didn't go down quietly. The moment reality sank in, he erupted. His face turned red, his hands clenched into fists. He swore, yelled, threatened. You can't do this to me, he shouted. I built this company. I just watched. Let him throw his tantrum. Let him believe for a few more seconds that he had any power left. But the truth was there was nothing he could do. Every account, locked, every contract, in my favor. Every loophole, already closed. He tried to call his lawyers only to realize they wouldn't take his case. Why? Because I had hired them first. He stormed out that day, still clinging to denial, convinced he could fix it, that it was just a mistake, that somehow he'd get it all back. But as the days passed, reality hit him like a slow-moving train. His credit card stopped working, his bank balance showed numbers far lower than he was used to. He tried to access company funds, denied. The luxury car he loved so much, repossessed. The penthouse he had moved into with her, no longer affordable. And then, the final blow, she left him. The woman he had thrown everything away for, the one who had smiled in pictures wearing gifts bought with my money, the one he swore made him happy. She was gone. Turns out, without the expensive dinners, the designer bags, and the private getaways, she wasn't interested. I heard she packed her bags and left, without even saying goodbye. And him? The man who once lived like a king, who thought he was untouchable? He was reduced to crashing on a friend's couch, desperately making calls, begging for favors. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy watching it all unfold. This wasn't revenge, this was justice. For the first time in years, I could finally breathe. No more walking on eggshells. No more living in the shadows of a man who thought I was nothing more than a supporting act in his grand performance. He was gone, and in his place was a life that was completely, beautifully mine. I didn't just take over the company, I transformed it. I rebranded, restructured, and rebuilt from the ground up. I hired people who actually cared about the business, who wanted to see it grow, not just use it as a personal bank account. Profits soared. New deals came flooding in. The name that was once his became known as mine. And let me tell you, there was nothing more satisfying than seeing my name on that office door, shining in gold. Meanwhile, he faded into nothing. Occasionally, I'd hear whispers about him, how he was struggling, hopping from one failed venture to another, desperately trying to reclaim the life he once had. But no one wanted to work with him. His reputation was ruined. Without the wealth, the power, and the illusion of success, he was just another man who had lost everything. Once upon a time, I had loved him. I had given him my heart, my trust, my years, and he had thrown it all away like it meant nothing. But now I was thriving. I was independent. I was happy. And as for him, he was nothing more than a bad memory, left behind, forgotten, and completely irrelevant to the life I was now living. Months passed. Life moved on. And for the first time in a long time, I was truly happy. My days were filled with excitement, growth, and success. I wasn't just running the company, I was owning it. Every decision was mine. Every achievement was mine. I had stepped out of his shadow and into my own light, and it felt incredible. I traveled. I treated myself to things I had once been told were too much or unnecessary. I surrounded myself with people who actually cared, who supported me, not used me. And him? He had disappeared from my life completely. No more headlines about his extravagant lifestyle. No more social media posts with his perfect new love. He had faded into nothing, just as he deserved. Then, one afternoon, as I was sipping coffee in my beautiful new office, my phone buzzed. A message. I almost didn't check, but curiosity got the best of me. It was from him. "Can we talk?" That was it. No apology, no explanation, just 3 simple words. I laughed. Actually laughed, because after everything, after all the pain, the betrayal, the destruction, he thought he still had a place in my life. He didn't. I didn't need revenge, I didn't need an argument. I didn't need to explain anything to him. My success, my happiness, my freedom, that was my answer. Without hesitation, I deleted the message. No response, no second thoughts. I had already said everything I needed to say, and as I looked around at my new, beautiful life, I realized something. I was too busy moving forward to ever look back.